but
It's got no data on YouTube.
it's just waiting. It's waiting. And it's there. It's on a different one now, unfortunately.
It is, but it's on. We're on. We're live. Is that what we're
We
saying?
we
We are live.
we
Hey,
are we're
we're on
alive on a
YouTube.
very messed up stream.
All right. Well, hey, this is so fun.
Let me go.
Man.
I'm gonna post a comment on the old one because there's gonna be a bunch of people
Yeah.
who
I'll
were looking
put
at
it
that.
in I'll put it in Discord.
What a mess! Yikes! Damn.
There we go. Okay, cool. Is anybody watching us? That's the next question. No.
It's funny
Cool.
because
All
the
right.
the chat here is still alive,
On the
but
old
it's
one.
all messages from people who were on the previous one, so that's dead.
Sweet.
That's funny.
Good thing we're not like trying to be technical people or tell
Good thing we're
anybody that
not
we
like
are.
super famous because that would have been really ruinous.
We were super famous. Somebody else would have screwed this up. They'd have been fired. So we don't have to fire anyone.
I'll just walk out the door now.
Nah,
Sorry.
we need you around, man. How the hell are you? Are we? I think we're good. Are we good to start? I think
we should just start. Yeah, let's
figure it
go.
out later.
Yeah, I'm okay. How are you? It's been a weird week, but I'm okay.
It's been a weird
I've
week.
come through. Yeah.
I think I've got a head cold starting.
No.
I feel this pressure starting. I've had a
You know,
headache.
this is like the classic just before the holidays, like your body's starting to wind down.
I have a theory. So I've been completely addicted to caffeine for many months, and I decided like 2 days ago I need a break. I need to take a little time, and the headache started to start. I feel like caffeine might have been like a an immunity boost shield to some degree. Because I mean,
It
people
definitely
around
is.
me have been getting sick I mean, not in the last couple of weeks, but for a couple months before that, off and on. And I've been fine, which is great. But the one day I'm like, all right, I'll take a break, and it's like defenses down, shield down, or whatever, right? And now it's like, and I've got stuff to do. We should talk about it. We should discuss. We got a lot of stuff going on. It's very exciting. Even though it has been a weird week. It has been a weird week. But we got some cool things.
Yeah. Oh,
go ahead.
Go on.
No, I was just gonna say someone loves Crockford's JSON. I love that.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this, but until you said it the other day.
We're going to talk about that for sure because
Yeah.
well, how did that come up? You tweeted something and then somebody commented.
So I saw on Twitter somebody was using React Native. It's not like official from React Native, but they were like they were like showing in a React Native app how fast they could parse JSON with different whatever. And their benchmarks, what they were showing is 50 megabytes. It was like 47 megabytes or whatever of data in 1.5-ish seconds or something like that. They got it down to 1.5 seconds to parse 50 megabytes. And so I'm like, I put together like a small demo inside of PHP on the device, right? And at first I was running into like memory issues because I was capped at like 128 megabytes of data, but you can do like PHP any set. And so I just juiced it to like 2 gigs of RAM. Like, just give me all the RAM you got, device, This is on a real device too, not on an emulator. And I found a website that just got like a JSON payload, and you could specify like the URL is like 50 megabytes or 30 megabytes. And so I got it to 50 megabytes, and it was 0.0 It was 0.1 seconds or whatever. It was a tenth of a second for 50 megabytes. I'm like, let's see what this thing can really do. So I put it up to 100 megabytes. It took 3 seconds to download. That's not what we're
Yeah.
benchmarking. That's download 100 megabytes.
That's going to be dependent on the network and all sorts, isn't it? So,
0.21
oh,
seconds to parse to JSON decode 100 megabytes in PHP on the device. And I'm like, I don't know if this is a relevant benchmark at all, but we smoked them, bro. We smoked them.
There's two things about that. One is like the first response I can imagine a whole bunch of people going is, well, it's not native. And then get, you know, like there's going to be a benchmark for doing it in Swift or Rust or something, and it's going to be like 2 orders of magnitude better than PHP at doing that. But the other side of it that really, really gets me, and it was brought out in this comment on that thread, was this person very tongue-in-cheek said, that's because JSON stands for PHP object notation. I was just like, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And then he went on to say, it's expected that PHP outperforms other languages in something that's been designed for its own structure.
Exactly. Well,
excellent. Yep. It is strange. Like JavaScript performance is just a weird. It does blow my mind that people think about using JavaScript in so many places when it's just so slow. But
yeah, it's the thing that baffles. So I've got two things here. One is what does native mean? When people say it's not native to have PHP, what does that mean? What is that? All right. So my interpretation of that, it has nothing to do with PHP running on the device. Okay. And I'll argue with anybody about this because it's not a server running.
You will argue. You will.
That's fine. To me, what I think most people mean by it's not native is it's not an actual like natively rendered button. It's inside of a web view. Okay. That's what I think most people are saying. It's not native. It's a web view. That's number one. I agree. And I want us to get to where we're rendering native components, native lists, native everything. We already do that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yep.
But you know what? Yeah, outside of the web view, right? But also a web view is a native component, so it can be optimized and whatever. So there's some gray lines, and you're
getting some people's fingers twitching. I can sense it already.
Mine are a little too. But that's not the direction that we want ultimately to go with this. It's just been the first direction that because that's what PHP likes is HTML and that whole argument. That's number one. In the PHP, the way that we've done everything, it is native. It's all running in C code on the device as a library. It's just as native as pulling in ML-Kit for a barcode scanner, for example. It's just as native as pulling in some other dependency that's running on the device to do some extra work. That's exactly what we are doing, actually. So and there's a lot to explore that we've done some of that this week. There's some cool stuff, you guys. There's some cool stuff. So someone kind of hit this one right on the nose. So I'm not going to give any timelines because this is very experimental. I think it was Monday.
Yeah, it was Monday.
I just got into this place. It was like 11:30 at night, and there was like so many things that I could be working on. My mind just went to like, let's read some Android documentation. And so I just pulled up the Android docs.
As you do on a Monday night.
As you do at 11:30. And I just spent like 2 or 3 hours just really combing through all of the stuff that I don't know about, that I want to know about, and learning. And there's still so much to explore there. But I was able to like really get my head around the different activities and the ways and what that really means, and like the different ways to enter into your application. The main activity versus any kind of intent filtering stuff. And I did also, like, one thing that really kept like pulling my attention was these background tasks or services, they're called. So you register in your manifest a service that you can start up and spin up and do a piece of work. And I'm like, that's just like a freaking queue, right? And so I'm like, I wonder if
Mhm.
I could build a queue connection, a queue driver that could interface with this background task and wire it up. And it works. It does do exactly. So it's like I can do queue or dispatch
Mm.
whatever piece of work and push it to that service. That service spins up. My test for this, so the way that I was like seeing how this would work, and just to take you through a little bit of the story, not the story, but like um just some of the cool things that I experienced along this path. I was doing I wanted to just sleep for 5 seconds in a PHP, basically a PHP process, right? And then log some work, just log hello, howdy doody, whatever it is. And so initially, this the problem with this whole thing is that when you spin up on Android, I know it's device specific here, we discovered this afterward. When you spin up this other thread, you have to reinstantiate PHP. And so the way that I'm instantiating PHP now is all inside of like basically one big-ish script, where that could actually be parsed out into two things. One is initialize, and then the other one is like boot Laravel. And so with that being separate, now I can say, all right, just initialize PHP, run this function, and it's completely separate. It's side by side now. There's these two. My hands are way over here, but they're doing this. So there's these two or more processes or instances of PHP that are completely independent of each other. When I first started that, the first thing that I tried was like click it, watch it work. Cool, it worked. It slept for 10 seconds and then it kicked in. I was in the kitchen sink app playing with all this. Then the next thing I did was like start the process, navigate to another page, because that's going to trigger the PHP process. And then let's see if that comes in. And what happened initially was I would start the process, navigate away. The 5 second sleep would kick in, it would log and then navigate. So I was kind of in this hanging sort of area. I figured
Mm.
out why, and that's when I refactored to having this booting up its separate process altogether to instantiate PHP. Once I figured that out, I got it working. So I spun up the process. It slipped 10 seconds. I navigated to the alert, dialog alert function, triggered that, clicked OK, got the feedback from that, and then the sleep kicked in and it logged everything out. So I was actually able to really see this is a separate thing. And what's really, really, really
Cool.
cool for me, because I'm a Laravel dev, I created a
Mm.
wrapper for the dispatch function. So I created like my own native dispatch. The devices offer, they offer these constraints. So it's everything on the Laravel side is exactly what you would expect. There's like, I added a migration to the jobs, table. That is
Yeah.
constraints, is JSON array of constraints. The device offers constraints. You can say, I want to spin up this service on Wi-Fi. I want to start the service on cellular. I want to start the service on Wi-Fi and while plugged in. So there's like these
Mm.
different things that we can actually hook into from the Laravel side, um, directly in. And so I've got this native, this is all like, just like me toying around with stuff. None of this is like actually out there yet, but this is kind of the way that I'm thinking and heading. But you can say native underscore dispatch, um, whatever the job is that you create in Laravel, and then arrow function, this Fluent API on Wi-Fi connected to the charger. There's a few other little hooks like that. Like
Mm.
when it's not slow internet, there's like a certain word for that. I forget what it is. But you could do all of these things and it will just do it. And then you and I was showing you and you were like, I was like, what I want though is I can start this and close the application. Like, no, I wouldn't expect that to happen anyway. But if you
Mhm.
background the application, does it still work? We found that it's even with the app backgrounded, it's doing all this work in the back end. You could trigger it to do like a local notification. or whatever you like, send an email, like whatever, or hit some API, third-party API, all that could be in the job itself. And it's totally independent of the main threaded PHP. Really exciting, really cool, really fun stuff. And
That
you
is
did
very cool.
more on top of that, which
Well, we'll
is,
get into that. There's been loads of chat just like flying
I know, I
through
haven't
because
seen
of
any of
this.
it. I've been,
No, no. I
thank
think you would
God.
have stopped. Yeah.
I know.
But let's go. Oh, well, there's loads of people here. I want to say hello to everybody first because we
Oh,
haven't really
sure.
said hi.
Hey,
So there's like, I think Essa made it back. Willem made it back.
hey
There's,
guys.
is it Zach Hiller?
It sounds like it.
Safa, Safa
Yeah.
Dev. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey. Caffeine. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Essa did make it back. Then there was this, before we get like, I think you should be able to tell the answer to this question already because of where we're at. But
Hey,
yeah, we
welcome.
are
You
full
must be
time
new.
on
And
this.
we love it. We love new people coming in. We are full time, both of us on
The
native PHP. Yeah.
yeah, Shane's caffeine habit tells you that we're full time on this. And then background tasks, you already showed that one. Vince is here. Vince, Jerome VIP. The going back to the JSON thing for a second.
Yeah.
That it is a super relevant, like this I don't know how to say that. Magales Murillo says, I do think JSON's super relevant. I've worked with huge JSONs. I've worked with huge JSONs as well. He was like 6'7" and 227 pounds. And anyway,
Jason
this is
Beggs
the
actually
thing. When
hired me.
he's not
Sorry to
very big
interrupt.
though.
He's not very big. No.
No.
He is in our community.
He is massive, but he's small.
Okay.
And yeah, well, everything you're going to do with native, almost everything you're going to do with native mobile apps is probably going to use JSON under the hood to like
Correct.
communicate with your API. And there's these whole things of like, how do I optimize for size of like response versus computational expense of, you know, hundreds of thousands of records in one request, or do I do paginated requests and all of this stuff? There's like a trade-off between, like you've shown, you know, if it takes 3 seconds to download hundreds of megabytes of data, if you've got a good connection, then maybe you don't want to do that many records in one go, etc. But what you do want is when you've got the JSON on the device that you can process it really, really quickly, because you want to move on and do other stuff with that data. And JSON's a super, super well understood interchange format. So whatever you're using should be good at handling JSON, right? So, and it's just hilarious that JavaScript isn't very good at handling JSON.
JavaScript object notation. Isn't that what it stands
Yeah,
for?
that is exactly what it's supposed to be. But yeah, PHP is way better at handling JSON than JavaScript is, it turns out.
I would imagine,
So,
you know, server side things are going to be faster than even the way that React Native's kind of doing things. It's still, it's still like a client side ish sort of way of doing it, right? So
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But then this whole thing of like performance, you sort of opened up the Pandora's box of performance.
Yeah,
There's
that kind of
people
had us going.
on,
We got a little
like
distracted for a couple of days, I think.
Willem's talking about IO blocking. We've got
Yeah,
Jigger asking about the scheduler or
yeah,
scheduler.
yep,
Well, this is slightly related, but you know, things like plugins, how are we going to do that? We'll come on to all of those things as well.
yeah. This is great.
Yeah,
This is so
basically,
exciting. This stuff is so fun.
so just to summarize, like you had started doing this thing of like, I want stuff that can run fully in the background, like with the app not open, and you found that whilst you can't achieve that with maybe you can achieve that with some of the APIs you were using, but you can't achieve it fully across both platforms in that way simply. There's like a complex array of stuff on iOS to handle background things. And there's different constraints on all of those different things for different purposes, and there's some really useful ones and interesting things to look into. But if we just like we took this view of, well, what if we don't worry about like fully backgrounded activity? What if we're just talking about like the app is in the foreground, but you want your application whilst it's in the foreground to be able to do multiple things at once, and you want to do those multiple things in PHP. And you would think like that should be fairly straightforward, right?
This is the rabbit hole, man. Yeah. It's so fun.
The thing is, you with your experiment, you kind of found that you could do that relatively easily on Android because it kind of does like a
It
whole
allows you
other
to.
process. Yeah.
Yep. Where iOS, it does only in certain circumstances. And I think that's the big distinguishing. It's only like for
Well,
network background kind of things,
yeah,
right?
they don't even really let you do like a whole separate process. Like I can't spin up a separate isolated
Yep.
actual
Service.
process.
Yeah.
I just have my application, and that's what's going to load, and there's going to be some small hook and it's going to run some part of my application. Whereas on Android it is like a separate process, and it's like isolated memory, isolated execution, etc., which is great because then you don't have to think about all the complexities of like PHP stepping on its own toes and whatever. But on iOS you don't have that luxury. So then, I mean, I'd done some of this exploration before and never really made it very far because it was just like I haven't got the time. It's not
Say
priority.
it, man.
I
Say
don't
it.
have
Say
I
it.
don't have the AI that's capable of doing it. But now we do. And oh my gosh, it was so like I was like, okay, I'm going to try building PHP with ZTS, the thread safe version. What do they call it? TSRM. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's like
Thread
that.
safe resource management. And
Yeah.
ZTS
So
is and
yeah,
yep,
thread
thread safe.
safety. So they that's been typically used on Windows for PHP builds, where you don't have the same kind of process model for PHP, right? Where you can just spin up another process and one process can manage another process, like Unix-like systems can do. And so that gets to like more intricacies and weirdness of just like the historical PHP. But it turns out that Zen thread safety works really well on an iPhone because I can tell the application I want to spin PHP up inside a thread, and I can tell PHP to operate in a thread safe way. And so I got it to get to a point where I could spin up multiple threads in a thread pool within my application, which is
That's
like, what the heck are we doing here?
so I want you to take 1 minute and explain that to somebody that has no idea what that means.
So I don't really know because
It's so cool.
basically
I don't know what it is,
you
but it's cool.
yeah, you have there's a few varieties of this thing, and I can't profess to understand any of them really very deeply. But like the typical model that we're used to with PHP, as I've said, is multiple processes. So when like your web server, when it's receiving multiple requests at once, there's not one PHP executable that's running and running your application on top of that just forever. There's multiple processes spawned of that executable, and your application is able to use any one of those. So like your code just runs on whichever process happens to try and execute your code. And so they're fully isolated. In a good setup, they're fully isolated, and they can sort of come and go as they please as long as the system's got enough resources. And PHP works great that way because it spins up on a request essentially, and then shuts down at the end, and everything's gone. Like the memory's freed up, and there's no like latent stray processes normally hanging around. So system resources are usually pretty well handled, and your server uh, is performing better because of PHP's model. And that's kind of what we have in mind when we want to do stuff with PHP. Like if you do something in the command line, let's say you're doing you've got a queue worker or the Laravel scheduler, like again, it's another process. And when it's doing stuff, it's just doing work in that one process. And the queue processes are kind of long running. The scheduler spins up usually on a cron, so the cron tells it to spin up the process and then it shuts down when it's finished. This is the model that we're just used to, right? Processes.
Right.
But threads are completely different. Threads are inside not inside that executable as such, but inside the same kind of bubble for an application, right? So your application is able to ask the system, I want a whole new thread of processing. It should all come under my process, but this is like an isolated thing that can go off and do its own thing with all of the stuff that I've got available to me. And there's other variations of the same kind of thing. There's in PHP, we have even fibers, and there's like different levels of how much resource they consume to spin up and what the kind of performance characteristics are like of each one of those things. But they're also like limited then in there's trade-offs. Like fibers aren't really about parallel work, where processes and threads are about parallel work. Fibers are like for concurrency management. So I haven't done enough with those things to fully understand them, but I know enough of the difference to say if we want to do things in parallel on iOS, we've got to use threads, right? So the classic case then comes of like when you want to make say you open your iPhone app, and the first thing that you want to do, aside of rendering the UI, is go and fetch some stuff from an API, right? You want to fetch some background data, check for updates from your service to fetch the latest stuff. But you want to do that in the background. You don't want it to block the UI. You want the UI to render and the app to be usable. But this stuff that can happen, and it can just happen in the background, and the app can be updating in the background. You could be loading stuff into the local database, and the UI can be updating, reflecting what's coming in from the server, regardless of how long it takes and all of this kind of stuff, because it's not blocking the main thread. Like you say, that's the expression. You don't block the main thread. You don't block the UI thread. So you actively need that on iOS in order to perform something like that. You need to be able to push some stuff to another thread, a background thread. And right now, if you were to try and do that with native PHP on iOS, you can't, because it's not thread safe and it will just bump into itself, and then you get crashes and, trying to use memory after it's been freed or whatever.
So this is something that for a very
really
long
messy.
time, for like initially when I was starting to learn to compile for Android on my side, I went down this ZTS path a little bit, and it scared the bejesus out of me because learning that I don't actually need it right now, at least, and figuring that out and talking with you about that, and trying to figure out how to away right now. So, and this is kind of important because this really shows where we're at and where we're going to go at some point.
Yep.
If you load up the homepage and that spins up 5 different requests, you're requesting some JSON data, you're polling something, you're going to check, is this system is iOS or is it Android? That's another request essentially. You might have 5 or 10 things happening on one payload, right? One simple page opens up, 5 or 10 things come in. We queue those. Currently, they're in serial. They're not parallel at all. They happen one after another. And I think it was Kevin McKee actually, who he paid us to get what's it called? ICU INTL for filament to work. And when at first he got it working, it was working. But he downloaded the filament, like their their demo, whatever it is, like download this so you can see everything. The first thing he
Yeah.
noted was that this takes, 15 seconds or something to load, because he's got all these
Yeah.
widgets on the main dashboard, and they're all asking for database queries, right? Or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? It's all asking for all this different information.
Well, they're all
And
separate
those are,
requests to the back end,
and they're
right?
separate,
Because it's
right?
like
And they're all
Ajax
in
calling
serial.
back into
Yeah.
PHP. Yeah.
So with that, that's the way that things currently are. What we're working on right now is this way to make those in parallel. And I would expect that 15 seconds to be less than a second with
it'll be
multi-thread
whatever
support.
the
Correct.
In
yeah,
fact,
depends on where it's pulling from the
technically
data,
it'll be the longest request is like the total time that it will take for that page to render.
Total time. Yep.
But because it's Ajax and it's like live updating the page, then the ones that are finished will come in and they'll all just finish at the time that they finish, right? From the very beginning. And then you're just limited by like how many requests can the web view make at once. And when you're in web view world in a native app, you've got really very few constraints. Like the browsers top out at something like 10 per domain. Like there's this limit on how many requests a browser can make to a specific domain. I don't know if you know about this.
No.
So it used to be 2 requests per domain, and over the years they've kind of like stepped it up because servers have become more capable. But if you think about it, you don't want somebody just visiting your website to DDoS your service. Basically, you don't want somebody's browser to start making thousands of requests at your service all at one time. And so the browsers actually have that kind of safety mechanism built in, but the web view is just a simple native component that doesn't have any of that logic. So in theory, we shouldn't bump into that. You should be able to spawn as much as you like, but there is going to be like, for every one of those processes, every one of those threads on the relevant platforms, it's going to use PHP, it's going to block that amount of PHP memory, and PHP has that thing of where you set how much memory it's capable of using at the start. You usually set it in the PHP ini, right? The max memory,
correct,
whatever it's memory limit. And the way that PHP works is it kind of says to the system, like, this is the amount I want that memory. Like, I'm going to have that memory if you've got it available. And if you do too much of that, it's going to like consume all of the memory of the system. So we can't have too many of these threads on background processes,
-1.
but no, but
not a good thing.
I don't think you're going to need that many of them.
We both kind of took it to the next level. On top of that, we have to say it. So you got it to a state. Again, all of this is theoretical. It's all stuff we're toying with. We'll come to it later fully. But you got to this place where on boot, you were spinning up 2 threads, and they were both booting Laravel. So there was like a warm state for Laravel. So now you have 2 threads ready to handle requests instead of just one. And every time the request comes in, it's booting Laravel. And then killing the whole, it's booting PHP and Laravel. Now you have this warm state. PHP's up, it's warm. You got 2 of them ready to receive requests. It's already booted, which is like, how much more performant could it actually be than that, right? And I guess it's spinning up more workers or more services or threads.
So it turns out that thread, like I haven't got it in a demoable state, but I can tell you that I've demoed enough of it to myself, and I remember the exact numbers that were coming out. If I did just a normal request using non-threaded PHP, and I'm just like, page, it's a Livewire page, and I'm running a Livewire page on iOS on my M3 MacBook. It's like a powerful machine on a simulator, so it's not real world, but it's close. It could do a request in like 150 milliseconds, let's say, on that average, right? So it would render the page and push that first render full down to the web view in about 150 milliseconds, which is already very good, like, honestly, for that kind of thing. With the warming, so forget threading, just the pre-warmed Laravel, like Octane does. Yes, there's a few people
There's a
saying that
couple,
already.
yeah, talking about
So
Octane. Yeah.
it's very in principle it's very similar to Octane. It has to be different because we don't have multi-process stuff, and Octane relies upon that. But in principle, it's the same. It's warmed the request up, if you like, to a certain point where essentially PHP is just spinning. It's not doing anything, so it's not using up resources, but it's ready
It's
to
ready.
just receive
Yep.
the
The
very
request. Yep.
next thing that matters. Like push some data into memory in PHP and then run the request. Just like that last mile, if you like, of the thing. And I was getting times like 20, 30, 50 milliseconds. So it's averaging somewhere around like 30 to 40 milliseconds per request. That's for a Livewire request, which was amazing. I
More,
was just
arguably
like,
more than like an inertia request. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot heavier because it's doing all the blade compilation. And that was Livewire 3. And I don't like Livewire 4 is going to come out with some optimizations that make that even better. So, and then if you do it with something like Vue, where you're really only just like building up a
JSON
JSON
payloads.
blob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
JSON stands for PHP object notation. And it's just like so fast, and that's not with the threads, right? So let me just go to threads then with this on top. So with threads it's slower because the threads spinning up a thread, managing threads, it just takes a little bit more resources, and the way that the system has to handle them it makes them slower. But that's if I didn't do the pre-warming, then they're just on that baseline, the threaded version of PHP is slower than the non-threaded version. Then we add like multiple threads, so the thread pool of non-warmed PHP, right? So your overall requests are like, okay, they're a bit slower, but now you can do multiple in parallel.
Right.
And even with two threads, one thread's going to finish. So if you've got like 5 requests, it can handle them very quick. Like the waterfall of that's going to be very quick because there's only usually ever like one request that's going to wait when you've got 2 threads. And in theory, we could spin up more threads and all of this kind of thing. We could make it dynamic and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so overall, it can be quicker in some circumstances. Default is it's going to be a little bit slower. But then you add the pre-warming on top of the threads.
Yeah.
And it's like now the pre-warmed requests are back down to like 50 milliseconds a time. This is for Livewire again. So you've got pre-warmed Livewire requests on multiple threads running at 50 milliseconds from start to finish. And then you get multiple requests happening almost truly in parallel. And it's just going to be so good at rendering like the web view application really quickly.
So
when we get this out,
I've got to interrupt because I don't know, it doesn't feel like it, but we've been talking almost 45 minutes. And
oh boy,
we got to pay some bills here. And actually we got a couple sponsors this week we're going to talk
ooh la
about.
la.
So if you don't
first?
mind, well, I'll interject with a couple little quick ad reads. We're going to start with Mailtrap. You guys heard of Mailtrap? We saw some conversations happening actually in the community recently, and they're like, why would you? So I think Ash Allen tried doing a PR into Laravel to offer support for it directly, and it spun up this whole conversation. It's like, why would you do that? Just use Herd. But it's the whole thing is Mailtrap. They do real email now, and I know like I'm going to keep talking about it because I didn't know this until they told us about this. So Mailtrap is modern email delivery for developers. Integrate straight into your code with SDKs, unified transactional and promo email delivery, 24/7 support. You contact real people, not an AI chatbot. 4,000 emails monthly in a free tier. You can try it right now. Mailtrap.io today. Get on it. It is one of the best, if not the best. I've only compared against like the bigger brands, names, whatever. 4,000 emails for free. And then even after that, you go up to 10,000, you got $15 a month.
That's
We don't
crazy.
send that much. We're on the free tier for Bifrost Native PHP. We probably get close to that when we do a bunch of newsletters and stuff, but it's still, I mean, $15 a month is less than who we were with. So I would just say that. Mailgun, which is great, but $15 is a lot less than 35. So yeah, go to mailtrap.io, give them a shot. You won't be upset. And I think it is worth saying, especially these days, I talk to a real person instead of a chatbot. I like it. And
And
our next sponsor, you ready for it?
who? Another sponsor?
We got the other sponsor. Do you want to pull it up? Bifrost.nativephp.com, you guys. Bifrost isn't just build automation, it's your entire mobile pipeline solved. Ship native PHP apps to iOS and Android with zero infrastructure, zero guesswork, zero late night debugging. Bifrost cross-compiled builds, app store releases, logs, GitHub authentication, and soon over-the-air updates, automated build workflows, and much, much more. Focus on your product. Let Bifrost handle the chaos. Bifrost, the bridge between your code and your customers. So, yes, Bifrost is also sponsoring this episode.
Wow, 2 sponsors.
2 sponsors. That's right.
Well, I didn't hear about the second one coming in. When did that happen?
About 10 minutes before the show started.
Yeah, I haven't seen any emails from them at all. That's crazy.
I know the guys over there.
Yeah, I hear they pay really well.
I heard that. I heard it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Going back to Mailtrap for a second, I did see something this week because I've been playing around some more, getting some other bits sorted for them. And I was like literally thinking, wouldn't it be so great if they also did inbound mail? Because they don't advertise that at the moment. And I was in the dashboard and I was like, there's this new badge on a item in there. And I was like, inbound. They're going to start doing inbound mail at some point. I was like, cool, this is great. I don't need anybody else anymore.
That's cool. So you can receive emails in your application, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now who's going to go and build the first native PHP mail app, basically? Because you'll be able to do that.
Oh,
inbound mail into the server.
The desktop and mobile.
Well, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got email testing and everything. It looks like such a great service.
So we've got other things we got to discuss, and we could talk about multi-threading. We could talk about performance optimization, and I think that it warrants talking a little bit about plugins and the plugins feature. I don't have anything more to demo this week at all.
I have a demo going back to the benchmarking stuff that we've been talking about, which I can do. We can do that at any point. I don't need to do it right
pull it
now.
up, and I'll just say this bit. Plugins, what plugins is going to do for us is allow us to put the power of this API building into the hands of the users. And that will streamline our time. It'll allow us to focus that energy that we would be for video recording or microphone or whatever it is into optimizing core, which is where we feel most comfortable, probably, or really happiest. And like, I don't know, I just feel a really strong pull in the direction of like, let's optimize this. Let's get native. Let's get out of the web view, solving those kinds of problems, doing background tasks, doing the scheduling. Those are more core things that you can't really build a plugin for, those things. And that's what plugins are going to really enable for us. So I'm really excited about getting those going, probably January, February. is what we're looking at for plugins.
Yeah, it's going to be so good. God, I've got so many things I want to talk about on that. Hold on to that thought. I want to go into this demo because I think this was very cool, and I've been thinking
Show
about this
us.
for a
Show
while as
us.
well. So
Let's see it.
let's do. I think I can just go like this and then slide over because that's going to be the easiest. So I'm going to give you. What do I want to do? I want to give you just like a little bit of background of what this is. So this is a fully native application. This isn't a native PHP application.
Okay.
Not that there's any real distinction between those two things. Just to be clear, like this is just a Swift application, right? But it's got PHP baked into it. Actually, that's just quickly. That's really reminded me of some of like why all of this performance stuff is really important, the multi-threading things. Because when we're not in a web view world, which we're soon not going to be,
Correct.
like you will be able to do stuff with PHP without relying upon the web view. You're gonna want all of this stuff. So this is why we're going after this. Anyway, part of this whole exercise has been just to like see how does PHP perform in its sort of raw form on a device like this. So this is a real phone. I don't know if you can see this very well. Can't really demonstrate stuff, but I'm just interacting with the phone. So I'm going to do this native baseline test first. So there's no PHP, just purely Swift. And I've got a few like little UI demos that try and stress the system, and they do render stuff out to the screen. So you get this idea of like how many frames per second can this handle, which is a good generic comparative way of just measuring performance across different systems.
Okay.
So we're looking at the number at the top left, which is the FPS, frames per second. And this is just a counter, so nothing too taxing. And this is native, remember? So that's 20 something thousand frames per second. I'm going to say, just like caveat, this app and the way that it's written might not be the best for doing this kind of benchmark. It's also running on iPhone 13 mini, and it's like whatever. But that's pretty good. Like 20,000 frames per second. I'd expect that from native for something this
like
basic.
That's faster than a hummingbird's wings, right?
Yeah. I don't know, but it's good. So let's stop that one. Let's do something a bit more taxing. So I've got this list of 1,000 items. I don't really know what this is doing, but I just see stuff happening and it says that it's doing it very fast. So see, this is a bit more taxing. So for the native side, this is now down to about 1,500 frames per second.
Okay.
You can see it's like nice and smooth. I don't know how it's coming over the stream, but for me, like this is a nice and smooth, like the list items are just getting added to the page over and over. Like I could scroll through loads and loads that it's adding, right? And it's buttery smooth. It's not dropping any frames. That's nice.
Right.
And I can ramp that up to like loads of them. And it slows down some more, but it's still fast enough that this is really smooth. Nice. 400, 500 frames per second. So like 500 frames per second, that's still good, right? That's native. Let's do one more. So this is a bit more of an interesting animation. That's still going at like 8,000, just less, 7,500 frames per second. Okay. That's got our like baseline. I'm not going to say those numbers are like the right numbers, but we just use them for a relative comparison to what this can now do with PHP. So somebody might get better numbers, somebody might get worse overall frames per second, but the relative performance is what we're looking for. So let's do it through PHP. I'm going to do it in two ways because there's kind of two ways that we do PHP output, or just like PHP handling. So one is where we just render PHP and we get some string output from PHP, which is the way that PHP typically works, right? You receive a request, you handle it, you render something, and that just gets flushed out on that channel. So that's exactly how we do things by default. So let's just see what that looks like. So that's not bad. 1,000 frames per second. Remember that the native one was doing 20,000 frames per second on this one. So it's easily an order of magnitude slower,
Sure.
but 1,000 frames per second is still really good.
Well, here's the other part of all that. It's not like we want to get closer to that 20,000. Here's the thing.
Yeah,
We
for
are
sure.
paying attention to, and we're monitoring these numbers, and we can see how to improve to get closer to that anyway. So
Mm,
where we weren't doing this kind of stuff before, you can't grow what you can't measure kind of thing. So
exactly.
this is really cool to see this.
I'm going to do I'm going to do one of these like taxing ones. And we just see, okay, so this is quite a bit slower. I can't remember the numbers of this one when it was at 1,000 items,
It was
but
at 1,000
it was,
or
yeah, about
2,000,
1,000
whatever it
frames per
was.
second.
Yeah.
So it sort of tracks, it's about an order of magnitude slower. But you can see 100 frames per second is still pretty good. Like it still feels very smooth to me. It is occasionally dropping some frames, so that's not great. But
Right.
we won't do that one anymore. But I want to just do the comparison to now. This is PHP, but we're basically telling PHP to then go and call back into the native side and get the native side to do some work. And that's a good like test to see um, you know, is our exercise of trying to get PHP to do native things performant? Because that's what we really want to do. We don't want
Right.
PHP to do the heavy lifting. We want the
Correct.
native side to do the heavy lifting. But if
That's
we've
how
got
everything's
PHP,
working. Camera and like,
exactly,
anything native, that's what we're doing. We're just using that as a bridge, right?
exactly. PHP is just like the glue. And if it's in the middle, does it become a bottleneck? Well, the answer is obvious. It's going to be because it's slower. We've already seen. But if we're not using it for so much of the stuff, maybe it's going to be a little bit faster. So let's do these again.
So let's see.
So that's
A little bit
about the
faster.
same.
Yeah, it's about the
But that
same.
test might not be a particularly good example of this thing. But if we go to this one,
Yeah, that's
that's way
5
better.
times faster, 4 times faster.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So now we're up to like well above 120 frames per second, well above 240 frames per second for some like so you talk like PHP at this level is capable of doing really performant like animation stuff. So I'm going to stop that one. I'm not going to do the 5,000 one on this one because it will crash. But we'll
Okay.
do this animation. Yeah, no, it's just too much. I could ramp it up to something else. Let's do like 2,000. It's a bit fiddly, but yeah, okay, it actually crashed, so I need to quit. But there's something wrong with the way that I'm doing that test. So when it gets too much, it just stops. Let's do this one. This one's fun. So
Oh
this is
yeah.
PHP calling native, and it's running this very,
Yeah.
very clean, like no drop frames. It's very fast and very smooth. Like it's for everything that it's doing in here, and I can't explain exactly what that is without diving into it, but it's calling PHP to do some of this work on, and that would be slowing down the frame rate here, and it's still at 600 frames per second. So PHP is really performant on native.
Yeah, this is great.
That's
It's a great
basically
I
how do
mean,
I get
look,
out of this?
it's December of 2025, right? This is where we're kind of starting. We're only 6 months since the first release of native PHP. So, I mean, I'm not discouraged by these numbers and I'm not embarrassed by these numbers. And I think that we run this test December 2026 and you're going to see
Yeah.
a lot is going to change between now and then. So, thank you for
I'm
that. That was really good.
I'm not I'm massively encouraged by those numbers because I was fully expecting, everybody says, oh, PHP, it's really slow. It's not going to be any good. Like, why are you using that in mobile? I say everybody, I see some of those messages. I'm like, is it though? Is it slow? Like we're using it for there's some applications out there on the web that are capable of doing really good scale with PHP. Like they handling scale with PHP. So it should be okay on the device where you're not dealing with the scale, right? And it does. It's fine. It's really, really good. So I'm super happy about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 120 hertz, 120 frames per second is probably where you're going to top out in what you're capable of
I
doing.
think though, like beyond what your eyes are capable of, I think that's almost irrelevant, right? Because it's not about, we're not measuring frames per second to see like how buttery smooth to our eyes it might look like, but how much processing is this actually capable of doing? And that's what these benchmark tests are kind of aimed at. If that were the case, what iOS would never have, they wouldn't have to optimize beyond that to get to 20,000, right? Like that's way more, but it's not about necessarily that, the frames per second. But these are some of the things that other people that we see are looking at, and we want to see where we're at with this, and then we can start to optimize and improve. Like I said, you can't grow what you don't measure, and now we're measuring things. And that's again back into plugins and how much that's going to free us up once that's released, and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. That's great.
Thanks for letting me show it.
Hey man, you can show whatever you want to. This is a safe place.
I don't think I can. YouTube might shut us down.
Yeah. So we got some more stuff on the list. We are going to tag 2.2 today. So we don't have a ton of new items here, but it does warrant talking about. We had some, and I've got another list here. Let me pull this up real quick. So we released 2.1.1, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and then 2.1.2 came out, I think yesterday, and I forget what that was. There was some other little fix that I found on that, but a lot of little paper cuts.
Share your screen?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Don't.
So I mean, I could show you guys some, I don't know what I'm going to show you. Well, let me just talk through like some of the things that we fixed. Number one, this guy Martin reached out to me. He's got 3 apps he's getting out by the end of the year, which is awesome and ambitious. And he had this issue where things were just kind of crashing in certain circumstances, or he couldn't get like, he would take a picture, but it wouldn't show up. It took us some time. He actually did a screen share with me, but we figured out what was going on was that he was running PHP Artisan storage link inside of his terminal and then running the application. So it was shipping to the device a storage link that wasn't actually, so it would skip we run storage link in the box, and it would detect that these were already linked, but it actually wasn't linked. It just appeared to be that. So we added public storage to a list of exclusion directories that we just skip whenever you're shipping into the device. That freed that up. So now that bug's been fixed. There was a problem with camera permissions, and it wasn't necessarily, it was a problem. So we require a foreground service declared in your Android manifest XML file on the Android side. And if you just only granted the camera permission, it wasn't writing that to the XML file. So that was fixed. There was an issue with iOS push notifications that we talked through. Basically, iOS sucks for push notifications. They have this APNS whole other subset of work that needs to be done that Android doesn't require. This will all eventually change when we go to a plugin for that. So an FCM official, like FCM versus a one signal plugin or whatever it is. But basically what was happening was when you get the APNS token, you're supposed to like, it then calls and to FCM and exchanges that for an FCM token. We were just calling an internal function on a different script that was supposed to send off that notification, that event was supposed to fire. And it was like, for whatever reason, not triggering that. So now we're triggering that event from within that same process instead of in the app delegate where the other things were. And now that's all working. And then there were just like 5 events that were missing the ID parameter. So if you were like with version 2, when that rolled out, now you can say whatever ID you want to for an event, and you can listen just for those specific events in your event listener. We weren't passing that second parameter of the ID, an optional second parameter into those. So those were just failing, crashing. So we got those fixed actually Monday or Tuesday. What we're about to roll out though, better support. I spent some good time working on icons and integrating better with icons. And just to clear the air there, when we first discovered edge components, the ability and that we worked through the capacity of like how we're actually going to do this, we skipped some things like icons. Not that we skipped them, we skipped working on them and optimizing any of that stuff. So I was able to go back and look at how is this really, how could it be better? I was in Android pulling in a 30 megabyte Gradle file implementation, which is a third party package. And instead of that, we are now shipping inside of your asset directory, inside of app source main assets, we'll have a TTF. So it'll have a font file that's 200 kilobytes versus this 30 megabytes. So that's number one. So apps are going to be much smaller because of that. Not much smaller than like pre-2, but since 2 came out. And we've updated the logic there. So there was like some fallback support, and then if things weren't found, blah blah blah. So that's all going to be in the documentation. But basically, any of this SF, the San Francisco symbols for iOS, and I'll have links to like some really good helpful tools. There's someone put together like a huge Figma site or whatever, like it just lists all of them out, which is way better than the 500 megabyte SF symbols iOS app that you have to install to find anything, which is ridiculous. But you could go through, and anything that's like dot notation for an SF symbol is going to just render as that. So you get the full SF library now. And the TTF font that I've included now is the there will be links, but it's the Google. If you go to Google Fonts and search for the Material 3 icons, it's any of those. It's like over 3,000 icons now are just officially supported by NativePHP inside of any of these edge components.
Cool. That's a really nice quality of life thing, because those icon sets are like huge and they've been around for ages, building up all these different little symbols for all the different things you might want to do, and just having them means you don't have to ship your own if you don't want to, which is great. Couple of questions from me about it. How if they're like they're obviously different names across the two different sets. So if I wanted to use something that's named, so I don't know any of the names off the top of my head, but like dog.full on iOS, and it's not going to be called dog.full on Android. So how am I going to do that when I'm defining my edge components?
So there are 17 people watching us right now on YouTube, and this YouTube, people aren't going to go back to this marker in the YouTube video to find out how to do this stuff. So it is going to be documented. We included with version 2, actually, I think it was a little bit before that, system : is iOS or is Android. So instead of having inside of your edge components like Android icon, iOS icon, you just still have icon, and then you just do the blade double curly bracket is iOS, system is iOS ? It's your double whatever it is. They're nullable coalescing, whatever it is. Tertiary. It's a tertiary. It's tertiary.
Ternary.
Ternary. What am I thinking? I need more caffeine. Hang on a second. Hang on.
You don't need more.
Ternary operator.
I know what you're saying.
So system is iOS, then a string of what the iOS SF symbol should be, and then colon whatever the Android is, right? And that works perfectly well. So we had thought about this, we talked about it, and that's clearly it's like, oh my God, we already had the support here. Because I was going down the path of like, I think we should have Android icon and iOS icon, but we don't need that.
That's fine to me. I think like a little essentially inline if statement to just split the two. And then we still got that kind of central array. I don't know if that's really the right, but just like that directory
Ternary.
of, yeah, but we've got that directory of shared
Mapped.
mapped, yeah,
Yep.
names. So for those, they'll also still work, right?
Yep. Those are in the docs. Those aren't changing. We're not going to add any more to that.
Yeah,
Future
that
versions, we
makes
may
sense.
not support that. Just, I mean, just for whatever, like version 3, like full versions later.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's not necessary. It does add a little bit more. I think also when plugins come out, you'll be able to import your own plugin packs too for things, so that people could
Yeah.
build a plugin for icon or symbol support. So speaking of
Cool.
Edge, another part of 2.2, this is a
I've got
big,
another question about icons though. I wanted
yeah,
to
bring
jump
it,
in
dude.
there.
Come on, man.
So can we use the icons in the web view?
No, not as is, not the way that you would expect, because the web view is going to load icons in a different manner completely. These are just for the Edge components.
Fine.
You
Cool.
can,
Okay.
sure, but you have to bring those in a different way.
Yeah, we'd have to find a way to do that. It might be quite cool to figure that out. Like, now that they're basically shipped with,
The TTF,
like,
you're right. There's a
yeah,
font.
we could potentially, and if we could do the same on iOS, then you could use all of those same
That's
icons. So you'd
true.
have like consistency across your UI then, which would be kind of
We'd have to
cool.
figure out how to. So the TTF for Android, that's pretty easy. We already have access to that. Maybe sim linking that file into public so that it's like an import kind of thing already. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how we would do that with iOS though. I'll put that in
No,
your
I'll have a
hands.
look into that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but that would be good. That would be good.
Sorry
That would be
to
great.
interrupt your train. Let's go to the next thing.
No, dude. I'm on the caboose anyway. There's no interruption here.
Woo.
The next one, this is a bigger, I think, quality of life for everybody. We've seen a lot of support tickets kind of all saying the same thing. My Edge components aren't rendering. Almost always it's because there's some property on one component that's missing and the whole thing gets blocked for whatever reason, right? So I've
Yeah.
added in property validation into the Edge components. So this is going to allow you
Nice.
to get a fully rendered like exception in the web view if you are trying to put in or not, or if you're missing like a label or an icon or something that it's required, it'll tell you exactly what you're missing, where it's missing, and all that stuff. So all of the Edge component, I think that's going to solve the majority of these things. And if something's missing, just go to the docs. It took a little bit of, we added another function into the base component for this of like, required properties is an empty array, and then inside of each component that extends that, we're just saying these are the ones that are required. So you have to put those in. And so if any of those are missing, then it's going to throw the exception. And I think that's going to help some people out for sure.
That sounds good. I think I've definitely bumped into that already.
The last one, I've bumped into that and it's helped me, right? Yeah, that's exactly, yeah. The last bigger kind of thing, there's been a bunch of like little things, not anything crazy big, but for the package command, so we use in Bifrost, we use the package command. There have been a few times, and I think this comes down to, we probably do need to do some more work inside of like the config. We definitely have to do more work there. The config is whenever we introduce anything new for permissions, or like the iPad thing moved into a different place, people weren't updating their native PHP config file. And so everything would build, but iOS was rejecting things, but there was a false positive from iOS because it was returning a 200 when we would ship it. But there was, the 200 had a response that said error. So it was like successfully received, right? But it was received with a rejection letter. So I added some more error logs in the package command specifically for Bifrost. But you could use that. There's documentation on how to do that. You can ship right from env variables essentially. So that's going to help a lot too. This will actually cause a failure on that. It will point to, like, it'll tell you whatever the error is from from iOS, from Apple App Store Connect,
Cool.
what that error actually is. So those will be
Great.
tagged later today.
Is that it for the 2.2 release
Yeah,
segment?
I think so. Yeah, there's some minor little bug fix things. Like inside of the package command, there was also like, for whatever reason in the logs, it would show like the colon will not be supported for whatever, like whatever, some part of that process of building. The
Mm.
colon operator
Oh
won't
yeah,
be
I remember
supported
seeing
in
that.
future things. So I got that kind of stuff fixed. Also, like the in the package command, it's using our old way of logging. So you're not going to really see that so much unless you're looking at the build logs in Bifrost or if you're doing
Mhm.
it yourself. But it's more streamlined. It looks better. It's easier to follow and trace things through and
Nice.
stuff like that. Little
Consistent.
little niceties. Yep.
Yeah, that's good. I love that stuff. Cool. I've got a few things, like I feel like I haven't really pushed anything out this week. I mean, I can't even remember now if it was this week, but there's been like a ton of things that I've been exploring and just tinkering.
You need to.
And
You need to.
I just feel like as also I've got this massive list of things that I just want to fix up. Like I've been working on, somebody's got an issue with precognition and the Axios wrapper. I didn't actually get to look at that, but I need to look at that. And I saw something, actually precognition is coming as part of something. It's coming as part of inertia by default soon. So I
Interesting.
need to get on that.
Pull in a dev branch or something.
Yeah. The one thing that I did do, which I kind of like, it's not a big deal, but I'm happy about it, is now when you install, well, it's not merged yet, but maybe we'll get it merged for this release, is when you run the install command, it won't um I think it's on the install command, it tells you if you haven't set your app ID in the env file, and it just bails. Now it'll prompt you and actually fill
Oh,
in the
nice.
EMV. You
Nice.
don't have that like,
Will it
oh, got it.
will it do like app version debug by default if it's not set to?
It doesn't at the moment, but it could do very easily. I think that's like a nice little addition too, right?
Yeah.
It isn't debug the default.
Yeah, but you still have to put it in there.
Oh, I don't have to do that on mine.
I'll have to look at that.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can
So if it's
figure that
not
out.
set, then it should just be debug. Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
I think that'd be okay. I think it'd be
Yeah.
okay.
Anyway, we'll sort that out. But yeah,
Sure.
that's just like another one of those very tiny quality of life things that took like 2 minutes to fix, and just don't know why I didn't do it before, but it's there now. So we've got a couple of questions about some of the stuff that we've been talking about.
I like this one.
Yeah. Tell
So
me.
I want to explain this. So number one, both Android and iOS use different processes for building. So Android is using AWS code build, which is essentially a VM is booted up inside of an AWS service, and we have scripts that are running on that. They're just YAML scripts or whatever they are that tell it how to do everything. And I'm always like, that has to be gone through to be optimized as well too. And we're going to go back into Bifrost land shortly after India, which we're going to talk about here soon too. So India. So Android and iOS, you actually can build 8.4 no problem. There's not there, because it's just a separate way that we're doing things. iOS, you should be able to build 8.4 with support for 8.4. There was we added one command. Actually, I don't know if we implemented it, but you found it. It's like there's no requirements or whatever.
Question.
I don't think we deployed it.
So, well, the way I'm
it.
interpreting this question is like there's two ways of looking at it. It's like you want to build your app, and your app has been built for PHP of a version that we don't have on Bifrost, which is kind of where my we did merge that, so that's live. That should work now.
Noah, test it right now. I'll watch it go through. Let us know. Go.
So yeah, like, just to be really like clear, we're running PHP 8.3 in the Bifrost boxes. Yeah.
Yes. Well, for
Yeah,
Android.
go on.
No, I was just gonna say for Android, it's different on iOS. Android is separate thing. That's all.
So we're using a different version of PHP on the Mac.
Correct. Yeah, because it's way easier to just because I'm using Herd inside of Mac.
Oh, right.
And I can
yeah,
just switch
okay,
it to 8.4.
Yeah. So
No
it's
problem.
easy to just okay. Well, but this is actually kind of an interesting thing then, because the two sides matter really. Like, on the one hand, if your application has been built for 8.4, the version of PHP that we're using in the box really shouldn't matter.
Correct.
Because that's your application. We're not running your application, really.
Right.
I mean, we do exercise some code because we're running.
We don't
those
even
commands.
compile. It's just what version, right? It's just It's a composer dependency. Is really all that that comes down
as
to.
long as the commands that we run through the application that we're pulling in work with the version of PHP that we're using, then it's gonna work, right? The application doesn't need to be built to support what version of PHP is running in those boxes. But if you wanted to have like a custom script that was running as part of the Bifrost pipeline, that would need to know which version of PHP we're running in the box, right?
That's right.
You're looking that build number up now.
I am. I'm signing into AWS so I can see it.
Yeah. S is hit on the one. So when you run Composer install or Composer update, you can pass in the ignore platform Rex flag, and it will just say, don't, like in Composer.json, you can say PHP and then define your minimum PHP version. Or you can do it for like PHP extensions as well. You can say, I want this extension and that extension and, certain version of an extension. And we now pass this ignore platform Rex flag. And so it doesn't matter what those settings are on your composer.json, because we don't care about them. We don't need to worry about them. And Bifrost builds can continue regardless. So it should work. From your facial expressions, I'm guessing it failed for some other reason.
We pushed it, but I didn't deploy that out to AWS. So hang on. We're going to do this live, you guys. Who cares? I like doing this anyway. Hang on a second.
You're getting the inside track on a support ticket.
Yeah.
This is the fun stuff. This is what everybody's come for.
I love that. We should do that. We should do that sometimes.
We said last week, do like mini streams for like, let's spend 20 minutes on this.
I'm all about it, man. I like doing this stuff.
Failed on Composer.
Yeah,
maybe that update hasn't been pushed through. Is that what you're saying? It's not
That's
been updated
what I think.
in the
it's
script.
In the project, but we didn't deploy it to AWS, the build spec. So I'm going to look in the build spec right now.
Yeah.
So it was ignore. All right, so I do see it here. And let me just double check to make sure that I don't see it inside of the build spec. Hang on a second. I like doing this. Maybe I'm weird. I remember when I first started developing, we'd go into like, meetings with clients and stuff, and they're like telling me stuff, and I would just be like fixing it right there. And everyone would like, don't do that. Just make notes and come back later and whatever.
Yeah. You shouldn't do that, because then they get the sense that it's just easy. And they're like, what are we paying you for? It's not there. That's right. That's a good sign.
Let me push this, and we're going to try it again. console, we have a command to push this. Esther actually built this command. Sync code
So
build
talk
projects.
through what that does and like
Yeah,
why we
here,
have
I'll
to
share
do
my
it.
screen. Why not?
Yeah, that would be really great, actually,
Let's
because
do
it'd be
it.
fun
Let's do
for
it.
everybody to
This
see.
is fun.
As long as we're not giving away any secrets, I think it's fine.
I don't think there's any secrets here.
You're a secret.
I'm a secret.
S has just said, I made a command to sync the build spec. I don't know if it still works.
Yeah, it does. We haven't changed any of that. Let's go with this screen, which is you. All right. Do you guys see my screen?
Yeah. For me, it's super tiny. So I don't know.
Well, you just got big eyes. Big, beautiful eyes.
It's not too bad. Yeah, I think if you ramp it up, it's going to be fine.
So number one is we have these different build specs for different things. This is the desktop. I'm sorry, this is the Android. And my computer's going a little slow because I'm sharing my screen now. So you can see here, we have this optimize autoloader, ignore platform requirements is inside of the build spec. The build spec, though, has to be synchronized with AWS. So here's on AWS, the actual build spec that we've got. And I just did a search for this ignore, and it's not here. So let's run Esther's command, which is...
Oh, no, it's me. I can't get rid of me. Sorry.
Sync code build projects. So I've got this command, and we'll do PHP artisan sync code build projects, and I think it's Android, capitalize Android. And that should work. All right, so that's synchronized that build spec up to AWS. Now if I refresh this, let's do another search on our build spec here. Ignore platform requirements. There it is. All right, so
there
I'm
it
going to
goes.
go Bifrost, and I'm going to log in. These are some of the things that we see in Bifrost. So like successful builds, failed builds, all that. So this is your builds. I shouldn't probably put
it still
that
works, Esther. Your command still works.
And I'm going to trigger this build again. I'm not showing this because it does have like his email, and I don't want to give away any information of his. So you don't have to do it yourself. I'm about to deploy it for you. Master branch, Android. And I'm just replicating whatever your previous settings were. And once I get it building, then I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And I will not deploy it out. We're just going to do the build to make sure that's working. All right, so here we go. Additionally, I can come back into this. I'll put these side by side. So here's his actual builds. We'll tail the logs. This is inside of the box. We can get these side by side. Not that it's really, it should be like pretty much replicating the same thing, but we'll see if this goes now. This is fun. I like doing this. I keep saying that, but it's true. You there still?
Me?
Yeah. You went quiet.
No, I'm gone.
Hey, here we go. So provisioning.
So where's the point that it would fail normally? Do you have like a line number or
yeah,
composer something, right?
Well, you'll just see it or you won't. Yeah, it's on the composer command. So off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's right after this, not too long after this.
Yeah, it's doing composer related things, I can see. This is fun.
I know.
This is so fun.
I like this. This is cool. We should do this more. Hey, look, it's downloading. Working. Composer. Yeah, composer. It looks like it went through. Let's see.
That's great.
No, it failed. All right. Why? What is the failure message? It might be something else though, like failure details, failure dependencies. did not exit successfully. This could be something completely unrelated. I don't really see the error here.
Can you go back to the end of the composer install stuff? Because I thought I saw something that might have been relevant. Yeah, well,
this is in your app.
It skips though. That shouldn't be the issue. I think it's something else. It's npm
errors.
There, it's errors there. Can only install with an existing package.lock JSON. So there's no package lock file. That's basically what that is. So you need to commit your, if you're going to have npm dependencies, you need to commit your package lock file and push that up as well. Otherwise, we don't know what to install for you.
Yeah, and I did make a change last week on iOS to like if there is no package.json file to ignore that.
Yeah.
And we might want to do that. I don't think we're doing that on Android. So let's have Claude do it for us. You wanna?
Yeah. How are we doing for other stuff that we've got to go through? There's a couple of things.
Yeah, true. We got 5 minutes-ish left scheduled. So let me stop sharing my screen. Hang on.
I'll say let's pick that up after. I think we get through this, end the stream, and then we can push that out. Because I think we've got a fix here for, is it Noah's stuff? And then those other things are just like slight improvement. Yeah. Cool. That's good. I mean, like, good to see a little bit of the insight into how all of that works.
He switched to bun. That's why. Yeah, and we should have support for that, honestly. Like, we should be able to detect that. And this is just like,
we will be able to do that.
Yeah, it's just not been done recently.
But no, well, we haven't been doing much on Bifrost really, so
we will just after India, which is our next thing. Let's talk about India.
Yeah.
What did we do right before the call today?
Simon? We booked our flights to India.
We booked our flights. We're going to India, you guys.
Yeah.
Right, so that's
crazy flights. Yeah. No, we got like these mad
I'll say mine first because yours is more crazy.
Yeah.
Mine is not as bad. I'm in Charlotte. I'm going to fly 2 hours to New York. I wait there for 2 hours, which will fly by, no pun intended. And then it's like 15 hours or something to Delhi. Then I'm in Delhi from like 9 p.m. until 4 a.m. on a layover, and then an hour flight to Ahmedabad. Which I used to say Ahmedabad, but I think it's Ahmedabad. And if anyone here, if Jigger's still here or coding with RK,
I have no clue.
I would like to know. If it's Ahmedabad, then put a 1. If it's Ahmedabad, then put 2. Yeah.
You could completely change it and say, I'm a bad dad.
I'm a bad dad. No, it's not true though. I'm a good dad.
No, not bad as in actually bad. I mean bad as in bad to the bone. You know?
Jakes. Bad
to the bone.
But your flight is way crazy. And on my flight going back, it's basically the same thing in reverse. The times are all crazy. Who knows? I'm going to leave. It's going to be 25 hours of travel, but I'll get there an hour before I left or something. Who knows?
The great time machine that is traveling across the world. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's worse because the overall flight time, like flying time, is like 12 hours or something for me, but actual journey time is something like 20 hours.
Ahmedabad.
But I have 4 planes in one direction, and then 4 planes in the reverse direction.
That's crazy.
And I'm going to be visiting so many places. Like to get from the islands, I have to go through Spain or London or somewhere in mainland Europe first. So I'm gonna go. I think the flights that I booked go to Madrid first. So I'm gonna go to Madrid, and then I'm in Madrid for a couple of hours, and then I go from there. I think on the outbound journey, it's Turkey, and then Dubai, and from Dubai to Ahmedabad. I'm a bad dad.
I'm a bad dad.
So
side subject, Noah's build is succeeding now, just to let you know he's got it. So I'm watching it. He did it again.
And now Jigger said the pronunciation was number 2. Which one is number 2?
I forgot.
Which one?
No, it's
rewind.
Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
Ahmedabad. So there's that. And a couple other things. Tuesday at noon, I think it's noon or 12:15 Eastern Standard Time, I will be doing the Laravel Worldwide Meetup.
Yeah.
We're gonna do. So you made a bed. You made a bed. I made a bed. I made a bed. So that's come on out. These things generally get a few hundred people at least, like live, and then several thousand views after. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. So I've got like so many ideas. I've been working on some stuff. I think I'm gonna vibe code. I think I'm gonna vibe code an app like with NativePHP. I think I'm gonna.
That would be.
And
cool.
I had some ideas. And I'll tell you guys because you're a smaller crowd here. So I thought of like Tinder for dogs. You guys, let's get some interaction. Tinder for dogs. Okay. And it's not like I, as the dog owner, am going to go find other dogs for my dog to play with. This is lick left, lick right. This is an app for dogs. Okay. It's fully like, and I'm calling it Retriever. All right. So Retriever. Or the other thought I had was like similar, but for elves, because it's the holiday spirit. Tinder for elves. So if you're an elf and you want to find like, someone to hang out with, and we're calling that one Slaymates. Is Slaymates. So Retriever or Slaymates. I want to see some comments. Let's see which one we're gonna go with. Retriever or Slaymates.
There's some good emoji popping on the YouTube chat. Yeah.
Great.
That's cool. Slaymates is brilliant. I hope it stays clean.
I can't guarantee anything.
You're gonna become like, I'm trying to think of a good. I was gonna say Hugh Hefner of something, but it's like an Alfie version of that. Huge ass.
Huge ass. Jingle. Let's find someone to jingle your bells all winter long, or all Christmas season.
Hugh Hefner. Terrible.
So there's that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It might not be either one of those things, but we'll see.
I like both of those things.
I like both of them. I think they'll kick ass. I'll figure it out. I'll do something awesome.
The dog one's very close to my heart.
Yeah.
I could see my dog using it, not very well, and probably destroying the phone, but yeah.
2 last things, and then we're gonna call it a day, I think. Yeah, we're about in there anyway. All right. Last 2 weeks ago, I think we put out the API starter kit for Livewire. I also have been toying with and playing with, and it's public because I've been using it to build my app, a Vue version. So it's Inertia Vue. It's the same sort of starter kit. You got the API client and the interaction and all of that stuff. And so that's out there. We'll put links out. We should add the links to the starter kits and other stuff. Man, there's stuff I haven't even told you about.
Well, tell me now or don't.
So we have Boost integration. We have an integration with Boost. So Livewire Boost, Laravel Boost. You can do a Boost install once you have our package installed, and it'll ask you if you want to install the integration for native PHP mobile. While that's good, there are other ways and things that I've been experimenting with. One is when I'm working on the plugins feature for native PHP, I realized that it's probably better to have a full-on plugin, a Claude Code plugin. Now it's just specific to Claude. That's all I use. Other people may use something else. Yeah. So, and here's it gets worse, dude. So, all right. So Claude plugins, what they are essentially is, whereas Laravel Boost, it's integrated with everything like Cursor and all of these other different AI things. I only use Claude. And we could support more things later. And this is all just a proof of concept, work in progress. But a Claude plugin, yeah, all the way down. There you go. So that's great. Plugins will give you tasks. It gives you agents. It gives you like, whenever somebody does this, this is what you need to do. It's way more than just a small spec guideline that Boost gives us. Boost gives us, you have a markdown file and it's like, when the user searches for this, go look at this documentation. You can do all of that, but you also get tasks that you can accomplish. So it's more than just like looking up docs. It can be anything. It's running another command under the hood, but it also gives you all the agents. So we can create agents specifically for iOS, specifically for Android, specifically. You wouldn't do that necessarily because we're not really integrating directly with that, but something that's like a JavaScript agent that knows our library through and through. It's going to help you namespace things properly, events, and knows React, it knows, cool. All these things. So it's got all the agents and all the tasks built into a plugin. So I actually have been playing with not just a plugin. So for the plugins, our plugins feature, I'm building a Claude plugin to help with that instead of just agents. Number one, in order to do that in Claude, you have to install a plugin that helps you create and stub out plugins. So I had to install a plugin, a Claude Code plugin. I installed a plugin for myself that's helping me to build a plugin for our plugins feature. That's number one. Number two, the way that all these plugins work is that you have a marketplace of plugins. Yes, a marketplace of plugins. So a marketplace is really just a wrapper around multiple plugins that you end up creating. So a bunch of different Claude Code plugins. And so there's a Claude command that says it's /plugins marketplace add, and then you put in a GitHub repository. That repository has a plugins.md or something like that, or a Claude plugins.md, and then it has a bunch of folders of all of the different plugins that you might want to offer. Right now we have, you don't even know about this, we have a marketplace inside of GitHub that allows us to push different plugins up. So I do have one that I'm working with right now for vibe coding stuff with native PHP. So it's a Claude Code plugin for that. And then we're going to have another Claude Code plugin for the plugins feature that will be inside of that same marketplace. So if you want to build plugins, you can just say, here's my marketplace. I'm vibe coding stuff on native PHP side, but I'm also doing making plugins, for people. So it's a lot
you said that was on GitHub.
Yep.
Where is that?
In native PHP. You want me to show you? You want a link?
Yeah.
GitHub, native PHP, repositories, Claude plugins. Yeah, native PHP /Claude plugins. You want to post it? Where do you want it? How many times have you heard that?
Well, it's private at the moment, so.
It's private. No, I don't think it is. I think it had to be public.
Maybe I've spelled it wrong. Oh yeah, no, yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
it had to be public because I had to. In Claude, you can say. Cool. So if you open up a new Claude session right now, you can copy that GitHub, the whole URL for that main repository, right? You can do /plugins or /plugin marketplace, separate word, add, and then paste that in. I think that's how you do it.
Cool.
And then once that's installed, then you can say /plugins. If you just hit that, it'll ask you, like, it'll give you tabs along the top. It's like, Do you want to discover new plugins? Do you want to search the marketplaces you already have installed? You go to that, you go to marketplaces, and then it'll list all of the plugins that you can install from the marketplaces you have installed in Claude. And then native
Cool.
PHP mobile. And this is just like an init, like a basic something I'm playing with, but it's been pretty cool. It's been really interesting.
That does sound cool. It sounds like there's probably like maybe Laravel Boost is already doing it. Doing something like that for their stuff, but where you could essentially like set that up for people as part of like our install process, or I don't know, like there's some easy
Yep,
step that they can do and just have it
for
working.
sure.
That would be
Because
kind
all
of
it does
cool.
is it adds an entry into a markdown file locally.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it. So yeah, we could absolutely get there. And I don't know.
That's cool.
I'm still exploring this place. I might reach out to Pushback and see, like, because this is specific to Claude, whereas Boost integrates with everything. And I think there are
Mm.
ways that you can do like the tasks and agents inside of Boost. I just don't know it well enough. So I want to reach out to him and see if I can figure some of that stuff out. But
Yeah, that is, it's like a whole new world with all of the different things that they like, and they seem to come out with new ways of approaching similar problems every week, like plugins and Claude.md or whatever it is. But yeah, MCP. I don't understand all of this stuff, but I know it's like you can plug some of these things together, and then some of the things feel like they overlap each other a little bit.
it's worth taking the time to do a little bit of research and playing around with it, not just like watching a video, but like
Yeah.
play with it a little bit, because it is really cool to see things start to work. The mobile API starter kit view, I don't know how you post that, but here's the link for that one too. You can post that one.
I mean, you can just pop it in the chat as well.
I'll just pop it in the chat.
Pop it.
And there you go.
I'm also gonna do. Oh, yeah, you figured it out. Good
Well,
job.
I just like showed my own thing for 10 seconds.
Yeah, there's that one as well. But I showed that one before. I don't know why that was got a special. I pasted it from notes. That's why.
And it went
Sorry,
under
let's
my
go.
name, which is really interesting.
Nah. Oh well.
You go.
Yeah, go on.
No, you go.
No, I was gonna do the same thing. Move to the
The
last
last
thing.
thing. So we've got some birthdays coming up. My birthday is on the 18th, and Douglas
Yay.
Crockford's is on the 24th. He's a Christmas baby.
Nope.
No. Christmas Eve baby.
Just a baby. I'm not a baby anymore, as you can tell.
Not really. Look at that smoky soothe skin.
Deep inside.
I said smilky soothe. Look at that smilky soothe skin. Sorry. Yeah, so we've got some birthdays coming up, but I think more importantly is for the stream is next Friday we'll be here as scheduled. The following Friday, which I think is the 26th, we're gonna take that day as a holiday. Enjoy the time with your families,
like everybody else.
Yeah, we're not gonna
Hopefully.
stream. And I think the Friday after that we probably will, but TBD.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got a lot of work we're doing to get ready for India, to get ready for all of the stuff we're talking about. There's so many things, so many fun, cool, interesting things we're working on. But we love you guys. We're real excited to be here and do this stuff. Native PHP is the baby. That's funny. And we're looking forward to meeting you too, RK. I may surprise everybody one Wednesday and just say, hey, let's look at some support stuff together and just do a live stream, because I think it's so fun. Just interacting with people, showing them a little behind the scenes,
I think I will only say, this is me putting my like business CTO whatever hat on, just to be, like be extra cautious about anything that you show, because
yeah, for sure,
there's obviously like people's apps and I don't know,
I'll wear
email
my
addresses
shirt.
we've already talked about and things. You know how to do it. But yeah, I'm all for that. The I think this little session that we did today was pretty cool, and it's nice to see that it got fixed like while we're on stream. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I wanna talk about this. Alan the Real
Alan.
Official. Alan. Here's how this goes. We've talked about this quite a bit, actually, Alan. We've talked about number one, older versions of Android. And we've also talked about how moving forward, the plugins feature is going to allow us to put more energy back into core. That's not something we're trying to shy away from at all. Supporting older versions of Android is something that we want to do. It's in our heart to do this. It's been in my heart to do this from the very beginning. Um, we took some time at the beginning of, I forget when it was, probably July or September, and really looked really close at Android, specifically on older versions. And we got to a place where it was working, and then it got to some error that was deep into the core of the way that we're bootstrapping PHP inside of these older versions of Android. And at that point, because there are so many other things that we were trying to do, trying to work on, um, we decided to put a pin in it and to say, look, for right now, we're at version, I think it's API 33 plus or 13, Android version 13.
Yeah.
And plus 16 just came out. While we do realize, understand that older versions and third world countries specifically are using much older devices, right now, we don't support that. That does not mean that in the future that we won't. It's going to take more time for us to go back and look at, to figure out where are the problems with supporting these older things, what's actually viable for us to work on. It could be an easy, quick kind of thing. Also, I'll say too, like just to go into this a little technically, we were on NDK 25 on Android, and now we're on 27, which is better back support actually than 25. You can actually accomplish more things. Plus, the way that I've compiled PHP
Mm.
for multi-threading in the experiment that we were doing just this week, I've upgraded the API version to 29 from 22, which actually gives better back support. And actually, because I've had to patch some PHP functions that are now included in this newer version of API 29. So it actually is opening the door, at least, to some of those things. And the potential, and I'm not going to promise anything or whatever, there's a possibility that we can go back as far as version 10 in future releases of native PHP when we get through some of these things. I would love to be where one application, without having to monitor or manage a bunch of different dependencies or different if conditional statements inside of our code, will be able to support these older versions all the way back to version 10. And I think it might be possible. And that's something I want to explore.
That's cool.
Logan,
That's
you are
actually great
really
news.
late, by the way. Yeah. Hi, Logan.
Like, just go, man. It's fine. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
I can understand it. I've been doing a bit of research around that as well, because we were talking about it the other day. And it's like, it's quite surprising to see. I mean, I do understand the economics of the whole problem and why some of those older devices, like the manufacturers just have decided we're not going to support trying to upgrade these older devices to the newer OS versions. But yeah, the fact of it is that there's still like a huge proportion of people using those devices that can't upgrade, right? They literally can't upgrade to the newer APIs. So, and the fact that they're still in very active usage is something like, if you're going to build an app for those markets, you really need to be able to support those versions.
It's the world we live in. I mean, look at the whole Windows model, right? So Windows is like, we're licensing the software, the OS. You build whatever hardware you want to, versus iOS is like, we control everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like Laravel. It's not that Laravel controls everything. It's very opinionated on how they're doing everything. So I see a lot of people are iOS. I mean, we work all the way back to like version like an iPhone 11 or something, because iPhone 11 will still get iOS 26 or something like that, right? It's a much older version of iPhone can be supported with native PHP. Um, where we have all these different hardware manufacturing processors and
Mhm.
different all this different stuff. A lot of devices don't have vibration on it, so you can't even ask for vibration, which is required by scanner, and like it's all these different weird crazy things. um yeah,
Yeah.
you were going to say
I
something about iOS.
it's just because, yeah, it's because iOS has the, like, Apple have just, they own the whole stack, right? So they can
Right,
just say, we know what our hardware is. We know, like, no matter what people have got in their hands, we can build a solution. Like, if we want to support iOS 26 on an iPhone 11, we know what we're working against, because it, it's a known thing that there's only one kind of, as far as I'm aware, there's only one kind of iPhone 11 out in the market, or however many there are. But they know what they are and they know what they're
right,
dealing with. Google can't do that with Android because they just don't know what hardware's out there. So they
correct.
go, okay, this is like, we've got this version of the operating system that we want, and then the manufacturers have to figure out how to make their device kind of support it if it can. And then you get like a Motorola's version of Android 13 or 16 or whatever, right? So it is a very tricky thing.
Can you
And
clarify this real
yeah,
quick? Can you type another message while you're still answering, please? I don't understand this. Continue.
I'm just reading it. I don't really know what that question means. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just different. Like, I have to say, like, I've been in the Apple ecosystem ever since getting a smartphone. Like, my it was always it was always going to be an iPhone for me, and I'm really happy with that, and I've stuck with that. And so I've not been through that pain, and I think to a certain extent we also can't understand it as easily when, you know by and large, most people in the Western world, let's say the Western world, that's not fair, but, like, more developed countries, wealthier countries, are buying new phones maybe every year, maybe every couple of years. And so the the devices are capable of installing those versions of the operating system. And we just don't bump into that so much. But yeah, I mean, I think the other side to it is, right now, native PHP is a premium solution. I think on the one hand, it's kind of also, um, there's an expectation that we would go the extra mile and get that support, and I do understand that. Um, but the limitation for us is, like, time. It doesn't, just because we're charging for a license doesn't mean that we've got loads and loads of money and loads of time to go and do all of these different things just yet. Um, as much as we would like. The one angle that I'm really keen for ultimately is where we've got a version of this thing that's out there that is open, that people can develop their, like, they can go in any direction they want, and bring it back into the core if needs be. And that made me think, like, there's probably somebody who's a bit enterprising and open to figuring some of this stuff out. You could probably make it work with the code that you get from us. You could probably get your app to go back to Android 10 or 11 or whatever. There's nothing really stopping you from doing that, potentially. Uh, but
Potentially.
yeah, we haven't done that work, so I guess we're just never going to know.
I mean, I don't think you would run into any issues with the PHP that we have, our binaries. It's not there. The problem would be in when Android's booting and how it's bootstrapping all of the different
Yeah.
components that it requires. Um, couple more things here. Number one, hell no, sorry, not going to do it. Somebody else can make this and they can publish it. I'll post a link for somebody else to do this, but I'm not a React guy. Even though I could have AI build it for me, I don't like React. If you want to do it, Douglas, you can do it, Mr. Crockford. That's up to you.
Nah, nope.
Yeah. So no. Old versions mobile can't handle the latest features, and that's another whole issue. That's something that eventually, I had a lot of when we first started building this out. That was one of the first things that I'm like, this is going to take a lot of work to go back, because you have to detect, like I said, number one, we only work with Google Play service devices, which is a separate whole thing. There are some devices that don't have Google Play services enabled, and all of the things that we are working with right now, you don't even have Google Play. So I don't know if you knew this, Simon, but you can make an app that's not going to go to the Google Play Store. It can go to the Amazon store. It could be just an APK you serve from your website or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything we're doing so far has been in like the happy path, which is get it to the Play Store, which is where 90%
Yeah.
probably of apps are being served from. The good apps, there's a black market for apps too. And so right now we don't offer any hooks inside of ours of like, if the device offers this, like I said, vibration, like you can't, there's a lot of not iPads, there's a lot of tablets and even some of the older phones on version 10 or 11 that don't have cameras. They just don't have them. So why would you have any features related to that or permissions related to that when it's probably going to kill the app, right? It's going to make it crash. There's a lot of different things in that space that we just don't have the time right now to work on, because we're trying to grow the company. We're trying to have commercially available hype stuff that we have to market and advertise to get people interested in the product in the first place. We have to prove ourselves that this is a viable way to build apps. We have to build the Bifrost. We have to build, like there's all these other things that we're trying to accomplish. We just haven't yet had the time to go back to.
Yeah. All of those things are kind of the same. Like I do see, having wider Android support as like it's a commercially advertisable feature of the product. It's like it's just where in the pecking order of all of the other things does it live right now, and like how much impact is it going to have overall? And the answer is it feels like not enough compared to some of the other things that we're trying to do. So
Correct.
eventually we could get to it. If before then it's open enough for people to do it themselves, then maybe it will happen even sooner. So yeah, it'll come. I see it like very clearly it will happen, but yeah.
I would say at the same time, this is exactly, I'll tell you, like plugins are more or less done. The marketplace that we're looking at is more or less done, but there are things like this that we're trying to think through, because like, what is the future 6 months from now? And what are we going to be? What if we want to offer different SDK support, or offer you as a plugin developer to have an app that offers different support? Maybe that's on a different branch in the same repository. And how do we interact with the marketplace in that regard? Or, like there's a bunch of weird-ish kind of things that we just don't know yet. And as we start playing with it and building, I've built using the plugin feature, I built like almost 10 plugins. I've thrown them all away because they're really easy just to spin them up and make sure the process is working. Doing a ton of vibe coding to get there. And I think even a month ago, I would have been ashamed almost to say that stuff, but it's very, it's really nice. It's really nice when it's well instructed and you can, proofread and see everything that it's doing and wrap your head around the whole thing. It's not vibe coding. I'm not just like one-shotting a prompt or anything like that and just running with it. It is, what did you say? You had a really cool, like computer aided or AI aided
No, I called it hacking. Yeah, it's just
hack
like human
aided
aided cognition.
cognition. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. Cognitive
Yeah.
knowledge. Then it would be HACK. Cognitive knowledge.
Oh.
Yeah. Or cognitive
Yeah.
kangaroos.
Hellish and Ahmedabad.
No, it's gonna be
Something
awesome. Hellish, no way.
yeah.
Heavenly, Ahmedabad.
Heavenly Ahmedabad challenging kangaroos. So I don't know. I can't. My brain's dead. It's the end of a Friday. I need to go and have dinner with my wife.
Yep.
I need to go and have a nice weekend.
Yep.
And then I can come back to this all refreshed on Monday and just smash out next week. And then we can have a good conversation next week about more stuff.
I'm excited about it. Thank you guys for joining along with us and dealing with our eccentricities, if that's the right word, and mine at least. And yeah, cool. Have a great weekend. I'll post in Discord everyone. When we tag 2.2, by the way.
Good. Thank you. You have a good weekend as well, man.
I'll be talking.
I'll probably talk to you. Yeah.
All right. I'll be sitting there. This next is for the stream.
This is so that everybody thinks that we don't talk like 24 hours a day.
Yeah, all the time. All the
Love
time.
you, everyone.
Bye. See you guys.
Bye.
Push the button.
Oh no!
Seriously,
it's like not
now
stopped.
It's still live. Come on!
So funny. I pressed it and it's come up with an error.
Douglas Crockford
is
experiencing issues.
It's telling me to refresh the page because it's got an error.
Oh. All right, so I'm gonna do a song and dance for everybody.